Hi, my name is Bill Burke. I'm the Managing Director for Ground Rush Financial. And the purpose of these videos is to help you open new cases, educate yourself, get comfortable with some language, sound bites, whatever it takes you to keep you interested in this business. So one of the big issues for everybody is how do you open a conversation with a client? Because someone, or you're at a fundraiser or someplace, somebody says, well, Bill, what do you do? Well, we want to answer everything with a question. You do not want to say, gosh, I am a PFA producer, or gosh, I'm a banker, or just don't answer it. You got to start with a question. So the way to answer that is, well, let me just ask you this question. Have you ever purchased something, and let's call this a car, maybe a home, and you're required in a home to get an inspection, but in a car, you typically would take it to a mechanic. Have you ever purchased something where you had to get a third party to make sure it was okay? Yes, you've had to do that. All right. So I think the great example of this, by the way, is we see it every day on TV, all these home shows. Because what the homeowners are doing, they're trying to flip homes. And you know the drill. They go out and they buy a home. They never have seen it. They're going to make a bid, and they're hoping they can improve that house to make a profit. And you know then what happens next. They go to the house. It's horrible. They find out that there's structural problems they didn't know about. They tear back a wall, and suddenly there's huge plumbing issues or electrical issues. Or they go to the foundation and find out termites have been there. But that isn't the most important part of the show. The most important part of the show is now that the surprise has happened, how do they solve it? And can they still flip the property and make a profit? That's why we watch these shows. Now, I don't watch a lot of these. I know my wife does, but you've all seen the show. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about with people in what I do is I'm going to be the inspector for someone's retirement. When I say that, people when they retire, and they've never retired before, by the way, you've only retired once, and the one thing you want to avoid at all costs, especially when you're 75 or 80, is you don't want a surprise. Because a surprise at that point in life, and it's usually going to be a bad surprise, is going to ruin your retirement. So one of the big surprises people have, and this is something that you may or may not have heard of, so the big surprise for people is what's called sequence of returns. Now, does that term mean anything to you, or have you heard it from your current advisors, or what does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean anything to them. They wait for the answer. So let me explain why this is so critical. It doesn't matter when you are growing your assets. Your growth guy has done a great job because during the growth phase, sequence makes no difference. But when you get to retirement, you start this new season of life, the most important factor to understand is sequence, because sequence matters now when you're withdrawing money. And what you're going to find with sequence, if you don't understand it, what you can end up doing is running out of money, not understanding that could happen. And so what we want to do is make sure that you're not going to be subject to that you understand the risks and how we can solve that problem. So that's a big area of what I do. Does that make sense to you? And wait for the answer. So what do you think you would want to know about sequence of returns? And hopefully they're going to say to you, well, we ought to probably talk about it. Or you're going to segue, we could take 5 or 10 minutes and I'll chat about what it means, but it's the most important part of retirement planning and yet the least understood. And that's critical for you to know. So that's where I do and what I help people with. So now you can end the conversation. People are going to want to know about that, and then we can talk about how do you present that to clients as a whole process. But that sequence of returns, nobody knows about it, and it will be the biggest danger they have. So hopefully this helps you.